Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis. Let's seek the truth and travel the long road to justice together. Clearly, I wasn't quite ready. Welcome to another episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. I'm Gigi. Hope you're having a good day. It's been a cold, snowy day here in Boise. Again, I left 80-degree heat, y'all. Came and froze myself to death this morning. It's all good. I think it's moved out and we're going to warm up. All right, real quick, big thank you to Christy, Brad, Madeline, Janice, Patrick, Doug, and Shelly. Doug, thank you for the patch and the coin. He sent me a Richland County patch and coin. It's very cool. I'm going to get a shadow box for it. All right, music fact of the day. Who never broke the top 40 in the U.S.? A few surprising names on here. Iron Maiden, Traffic, The Ramones, and Tom Waits. All right, we're jumping in because I got to get back to the courthouse. I'll be on Cuomo and Banfield tonight, so tune in. Mr. Thomas was up because, as we know, Zulema was still on cross. He said what bothered him over the weekend was her relationship with Alex. Their first date was going to dinner on October 31st. That's when they had their first kiss and held hands. He never really said why it bothered him, but between August and October, they went out a couple of times. They talked on the phone frequently about scriptures, family, just kind of basic getting to know you stuff. October 7th, 2019, that's the day Alex proposed to Zulema. They had talked about getting married after their first kiss, and he wanted to. The engagement was not a surprise. Alex told her he was looking for a ring, and he had asked Zulema what her ring size was a few days before she came to Rexburg. Talk about no element of surprise. She stayed in Rexburg only 2 to 3 days that trip, and then she went to Arizona. Alex stayed back in Rexburg, and she next saw him at Thanksgiving when he and Melanice, remember, they drove that Rogue down so Melanice could spend Thanksgiving with Ian, her new boyfriend and soon-to-be husband's sister and kids. He stayed throughout the weekend at Zulema's house over Thanksgiving, and December 1st, they go to Vegas and get married. Zulema can't specifically remember the date. She says there's a lot of trauma that she's dealing with. When asked what was traumatic, she got very emotional, almost started crying, and she said Alex's death. She went to work on December 12th. He was fine, and when she came home, he was laying in the bathroom. Paramedics came and took him to the ER, and we know he passed. She was wiping her eyes. She had to give the okay for them to stop trying life-saving measures and to turn the machines off, and she said it was very traumatic. There was 4 months of dating and getting to know each other, and Mr. Thomas says, you told the state Alex would do anything for Lori, and you knew that. How is it that you knew him between August and September, and you knew all this stuff? Maybe you didn't know him that well, and he wouldn't do anything for Lori. Zulema disagrees. She said Alex would make decisions and would feel he needed Lori and Chad's permission or okay to do things. Chad told Alex in a blessing he would be moving to Rexburg and become a warrior there. The next day, he took a plane to Rexburg with Chad. That was to check out the area up in Rexburg. And another reason is after their marriage, they were talking about how she was not moving to Rexburg. They talked about what to do. Alex said, I need to ask Chad and Lori before I make any decisions. So Mr. Thomas says he was asking for advice, and Zulema said he was looking for direction. So she's shown copies of texts between herself, Chad, and Lori. This was brought in when she testified for the grand jury, by the way. So the text to Chad, it said, I had a talk with my daughter. She doesn't want to go, meaning to Rexburg, and feels I'm abandoning her. Zulema asked Chad to see who her daughter was in a different life, and Chad said he would find out. And he understood about Rexburg. Now, Lori was very engrossed in Zulema's testimony, by the way, just as she was on Friday. Lori and Chad were pushing her to move to Rexburg the entire time, though. Chad gave blessings, which specifically would mention her moving to Rexburg. Her family wasn't there, but she said, they pushed me to go. Zulema said she trusted Chad and Lori and who they said they were. She believed Chad could go beyond the veil and get revelations, and Lori said she talked to Jesus. So Zulema started praying about what to do. Again, she mentions when you talk about doing something so sacred, she believed them. Zulema said she prayed, and the Lord said she would go, but not right now. Mr. Thomas says, so they weren't pressuring you? And Zulema said, oh, they were. Pressuring Zulema in every blessing they gave her. Mr. Thomas has her read from an exhibit. It was from her to Chad. She said she's feeling like herself again. Another text asks, how and when will I know to go to the temple when the call out happens? She also said the Lord has placed a new yearning in her heart to serve him and leave the world behind. She said, he's telling me there's no time for anyone else. Jesus was telling her there's no time for anyone else, not Chad. But I mean, he kind of did say he was Jesus's brother in a past life. Chad says, I'm so excited for you. As a multiple creation, you have received your calling. I know you will have a close relationship with the Savior. You will know when to gather. You will be one of the first. You're part of the team. And Zulema said she got chills. They were multiplying all over her body when he said that. She called Chad to heal her from pain or spiritual bindings at certain times. One time it was around Christmas of 2018 when she had a shoulder issue. And she texted, Merry Christmas. Do I have weapons on my back? I feel I'm being attacked. She said, Lori and Chad taught when you have a physical or emotional pain, it is an attack from the dark side. Zulema totally believed this. Chad said he had captured and sealed the evil spirit that was attacking Zulema. He's healed her wounds. And Zulema said, oh my God, I can move my shoulder now. Thank you. She said Chad and Lori never asked her to hurt anyone spiritually. She thought she was working towards something good to help get rid of darkness and evil spirits from the earth. Although she did know JJ and Charles were in the car when she was blinding them with the light and all that good stuff. Mr. Thomas said, in telling you that they loved you and you were doing a great job, Zulema said, yeah, that was manipulative and evil, and the end result was evil. In another text from Zulema to Chad, it says, I've been given a new weapon of light fire, which is imagining in your mind with the intention of a light aura that has some fire around it and put it around someone to help them heal. She used a light fire for good and healing purposes, as well as the castings on the evil spirits. So Mr. Thomas is like, do you have a portal in your home? And she's like, nope, never have. April 8th, 2019. He mentions a text where she says, I would love that. I want to see if you can help me make a portal in my home. Zulema doesn't remember asking that, but says it's there. So I believe it was said. So about castings with Lori and other women, one was for a demon by the name of Garrett, which was from Charles. And he says, you asked this demon to be released from the host. Did it actually happen? She says, I don't know. Lori had to ask Chad, and then he would give them confirmation. Now, he said the entity left Charles, but as we know, the bigger Iplos was the one that entered Charles after Garrett. So according to them, removing Garrett was successful, and Zulema didn't know if it was done correctly. But of course, another demon possessed Charles, and Zulema said she believed that. The day Charles was murdered, Zulema was at the temple, and in a text, Zulema says, I'm on my way to the temple and I'll be in the celestial room. This was between Zulema and Lori, this text. Zulema said, as I was working on Iplos today at the temple, I was told he will be taken as he is. I don't know what that means. I hope this will end. At that point, when that text was sent, by the way, Charles was already dead. They aren't allowed to bring cell phones to the temple. When she was casting out Iplos, Lori was supposed to come, but did not that day to the temple because she was busy giving a police interview, apparently. Thomas asked if she had an experience in the temple and some heavenly beings showed up, and she remembers that. Heavenly Father, Heavenly Mother, Jesus, and her eternal husband was there. Thomas is finished with Cross. Rachel Smith went up for redirect. She asked Zulema if she needs a minute or if they can keep going, and she says we can go. So Miss Smith says, you try to look for the good in people. Zulema says yes. A lot of her answers she gave was her trying to see if Lori is a good person like herself. So they had Zulema look at the exhibit with the 2 phone numbers Lori would call her on. The texts with Lori were typical for Lori. Lori called Zulema a goddess, and her powers of influencing the elements were always highlighted. Lori told Zulema her mission was the most important one. Chad texted her and told her she was a goddess of the earth and had a special mission. They constantly told her how special she was, and Zulema said it made her feel good and special, and she believed it. She did see them do the same with others, including Alex, telling him that he was special, he had a specific mission. They also told Alex, as we know, he had been exalted in another life. But we know Alex quit his job and sold things to move to Rexburg. He actually left things in his apartment in Arizona and just went. Lori and Chad, as we know, told Alex that his sole purpose on this earth this go round was to protect his sister Lori. The castings were a prayer group sometimes, and Lindsay Blake asked if the strength of the spirit got stronger after each casting, and Zulema said Lori told them the first one followed Charles for a year. The second one, Garrett, had been around for hundreds of years and had more experience, but Iplos was so powerful and experienced, it was just too hard to cast him out. She asks about the body needing to be destroyed, and Zulema confirms that. And she said Alex believed everything Lori and Chad told him. So redirect is over. She was released from her subpoena. Lori watched her walk out the room. I didn't see that Zulema made any eye contact. Zulema seemed a little bit down and quiet today compared to the end of the day on Friday. But the next witness, Colby Ryan, been waiting on this. Lori's only living child, her oldest child, and she watched him as he walked in. She was smiling, and Rob Wood was up for the state on direct. He said Lori is his mother when asked how he knows her. The jury kind of was like, oh, okay. Colby, I tell you what, he avoided looking at his mom. There was one time I caught him look at her. She was turned to the side talking with her attorneys. It was clear she wasn't focused on Colby. And he gave her just a stare that was not at all loving. It was kind of just a disgust and that kind of a stare, if you could imagine it. So they show a photo of Tylee, and he wipes his eyes and gets emotional, and he says, "That's my sister Tylee." They do the same thing with a photo of JJ. He said, "That's my little brother JJ." He seemed really nervous at first. He was holding in a lot of emotion. He's asked who Charles Vallow is. He said that was his stepdad for 13 years. The day he was killed, he talked to Lori. We know Lori told Colby Charles had a heart attack, and this was over the phone around 2 or 3 p.m. on July the 11th. She didn't mention anything about him being shot. So later on, after he got off work, he went to Lori's house, and that was about 7:30 at night. Tylee opened the door, and he had said in a previous interview she grabbed him and just started sobbing. He didn't say that on the stand today. He just said she gave him a hug. He went inside and saw Alex on the couch watching TV with that bandage wrapped around his head. So Colby was like, "Why do you have that on?" And Alex said Charles hit him with a bat, so he shot Charles. He said his mom's demeanor was calm that night when he was at the house. He also had talked to Lori about the life insurance policy a few weeks after Charles was killed. She told Colby she wasn't getting any money from it, and she thought that she was the beneficiary. Colby and Lori talked about hers and Charles's finances, and Colby claims that Lori said they were out of money. He also talks about Joe Ryan, who's Tylee's dad. He's deceased as of 2018. Tylee got Social Security benefits after Joe's death, and he talked to Tylee about money. She had a bank account, and he admitted that he got money from Tylee. He would get money from Tylee randomly through Venmo, and Lori would send Tylee money, and then Tylee would transfer that on to Colby as well. September 8th, 2019, he had a text conversation with Tylee that day. Colby asked if she could send money through Venmo to him. Tylee responded she wasn't in control of her money anymore, that her mom, Lori, was. So Colby talked to Lori that same day. This is the day Tylee was last seen. They were in the Yellowstone gift store when that cell call happened. After Charles's murder, Colby and Tylee talked about her money, and Lori said she was going to use that money for their lives, just bills, that kind of thing, while she looked for a new job. We know that was a lie. She never had any intention of getting a new job. Gilbert PD contacted Colby November 27th looking for Tylee and JJ. Colby said at that point he was really worried, and his conversations over text were followed up with voice calls and text and FaceTimes originally with Tylee. But over time, the texts were different, didn't sound like Tylee at all. He said he also got money from Tylee's Cash App. He doesn't remember the Venmo transfers. One account was Lori's, and another, he said, quote, Lori Vallow something else. Lori told him a few weeks after Charles's murder, she would get married again. And after Gilbert PD contacted Colby, he called his mom. He knew she had moved from the Phoenix area, but she wouldn't tell him where. Lori initially just told him they were moving somewhere cold and it was too dangerous to tell anyone where they were going. He tried to call on Thanksgiving, but her phone was disconnected. And that was all on direct for Colby. It was really quick. We had our morning break. He kind of sat there when we came back from break with his head down, and he talked to a court staff member about the position of his microphone. Lori was looking at him. He didn't look her way. Lori's just staring, and you could tell she's trying to make some kind of a connection, but it really just didn't happen. So Jim Archibald was up for cross of Colby. Colby said he's 27. Lori's his mom, and he names his biological father. He said he's had no relationship with his biological dad, and Lori raised him. He also mentions Joe Ryan as a stepdad. He said he doesn't know if Joe adopted him. Tom Ware, who was guardian ad litem for Tylee during the big custody battle, spoke to me in Fruit Loop, my old podcast host, for several hours saying that that was not a final adoption. Otherwise, during the allegations, during that custody battle, he would have had access to Colby, and he did not. So it seems like he just took on his last name. Colby talks about being married and having 2 kids. Mr. Archibald asked if Lori has met her grandkids, and Colby said she met his oldest when his oldest was a baby. He is 6 years older than Tylee. He said his childhood with Joe Ryan was bad, and Colby said that Joe abused him. Now, that went to a sidebar. There was a sustained objection about childhood abuse, and Archibald said, "Did your mother protect you and Tylee from Joe Ryan?" Colby says, "Yes, we moved away." After divorcing, his next stepdad was Charles, and he said it was a good relationship with him, and Charles treated him much better than Joe did. He had a relationship with Charles, and Tylee and JJ had fun growing up with Charles as their stepdad. He said he had a good relationship with Tylee and JJ. He mentioned Tylee had pancreatitis as a kid and was hospitalized on a regular basis, it seems, and JJ was diagnosed with autism. And he said Lori cared for all their needs growing up. Colby said he had struggles as a teenager, and when asked if she helped him through those, Colby said sure. That was not a yes. It was a sure. He was into sports, but he struggled with depression, and he said Tylee did as well. He also said he had suicidal thoughts as a teenager. Lori helped Colby and Tylee both with thoughts of lack of self-worth and encouraged him to do good things in his life. He said he doesn't know if Lori encouraged Tylee to do good things. So Colby left for Kansas at the age of 17 and lived with his uncle Adam, which is Lori's brother. He moved back in with Lori and Charles when they were living in Arizona. He didn't finish high school. He said both he and Tylee got their GEDs. So he went to college, and when he moved back to Arizona, he went to a community college. He went on an LDS mission at the age of 18. It only lasted 6 weeks, and I think they said it was to Nampa, which I know there's a Nampa around here, but I don't know if that's the one. It wasn't specified. Lori was supportive when he left and when he came home from that mission. Colby said Lori taught him about Jesus. She built the foundation, but she never taught him about multiple lives or creations, and nothing about him being anyone else in a past life. He had never heard about zombies or casting out. She did mention vibrations to him, and she said that her and Colby both had the same vibration, which, of course, hers allowed her to portal. As a kid, she never said she was a goddess or leader of the 144,000 when he was young. She never asked Colby to join the Church of the Firstborn. And in his childhood, they read scriptures, and that's kind of how she would keep him armed with scripture. Colby wasn't living at home when Charles filed for divorce from Lori. Colby's relationship with Alex was minimal. Colby said he was odd, crude, and kind of funny. Alex started coming around more in 2018 after Colby got married. And Archibald brings up the book that Colby wrote. I believe it's called God Over Odds. The purpose is giving his testimony about how Jesus got him through tough times in his life. He's also asked, did you do any docuseries? We know he did the Netflix Sins of Our Mother. That was something they asked every single potential juror about during jury selection, by the way. He said he was not paid to do that. And Archibald quotes, "My mom has spent her whole life protecting her kids. After she met Chad, she had changed." This was the first time we ever hear Chad brought into the equation as somebody who might have changed Lori. In the Netflix series, he talks about his childhood and never thought Lori would hurt someone. When asked if he loved his mom, he said yes. When asked if she loved him, he said, "I think so." A couple of times Lori was seen dabbing her eyes with tissues, but I didn't see it because she was facing him and I could just see her profile, but I could see her wiping her eyes, and it was around this time. So Mr. Archibald said, in your book, you say you struggled with depression and suicidal thoughts. There's an objection, which is sustained. He says he does not have those thoughts now. God has navigated me through all life's obstacles. Is that a true statement? And Colby says yes. So cross is finished. Rob Wood asked for a 5-minute recess. Lori stood away from Colby and talked to her attorneys while that little recess was going on. So on redirect, they talk about when he moved out at the age of 17. Lori has never asked him for money. She gave him money. She never asked for anything but to help them move. His biological dad is still living. Lori did not control his bank account. She gave him Tylee's bank card once to buy him a birthday gift. He was never asked to come to any religious events with these castings or any of these preparing a people conferences either. He didn't know Lori was living in Rexburg until he actually saw it on the news on December 19th of 2019, because we know Lori didn't tell him where they were going. He didn't know Tylee and JJ were missing until Gilbert PD showed up at the house, and he talked about the life insurance policy that Lori had on herself. She told him when he was younger she had one. As a teen, she told him he was the sole beneficiary. Tylee and JJ were not listed on that as recipients. Colby got off the stand. He was not released from his subpoena momentarily. And the reason is they published this jail call between Lori and Colby. And they say due to the nature of it, they asked to play it without Colby on the stand. And so they start playing it. Then Judge Boyce calls for a sidebar and they bring Colby back in. Judge Boyce said he thinks with the content, it should require him to be on the stand and both sides should be entitled to ask questions after it's played. So on this call, Colby says, you didn't do anything, right? I've prayed for you in my worst moments. I pray for my siblings who you swore was okay. I thought I could trust you. I thought you were a completely different person. Lori says, you can't make judgments when you weren't there and don't know what happened. Colby said, I pushed past everything to try and help you. You lied to me more times than I can count about this. To know they're gone and you knew, and my phone being texted by my little sister who wasn't even alive. My brother was the sweetest kid, and you say this is God's will for them to be dead. Tell me Jesus is on your side. Colby says, please. And Lori said, I can tell you that. Colby said, say it to me. Say his name. I prayed for you and tried to forgive you. And Chad and Alex, and I was deceived and broken by my own mother. What are you doing? Colby said, I prayed you tell me. Lori said, they think they know what happened. They think they know who's responsible. You weren't there. Colby says, right. I wasn't there. I was kept in the dark, and there are 2 kids murdered. Lori said, one day you will know what happened. Can you imagine this, y'all? It's sad in a way to think about all this, just the position he's in with his loss. Colby's had his own issues last year, but just on a basic level with this, the pain doesn't diminish because you made mistakes yourself. Colby said he will convict people who use his name in blasphemy. And Lori literally laughs out loud on the phone. I thought somebody in the courtroom was laughing. She said, nice to talk to you, Colbs. One day you will see and understand. I don't have anything else to say. You weren't there. Summer, the police, the FBI wasn't there. She said, Tylee and JJ love me and they know. I will see them again. Judge me all day long. The whole world has. You don't know and they don't know. You don't give a crap what they went through. I was in the hospital with Tylee for hundreds of days. I was with JJ all day. Colby said, you did it all to throw it in the garbage. Lori said, you don't know what happened. Colby said, they were buried in your new husband's backyard. Lori said, you don't even know. You weren't even there. And Colby said, what lies did you tell me in October? Why is everything against you? And Lori said, one day we will all stand with Jesus and you will know the truth of everything. Colby says, say it. Say this was done in Jesus' name. I mean, he's holding her to the fire, I have to say. He didn't give up on this phone call. Lori says, again, you don't know what happened. Colby says, my mom, my siblings, my dad, meaning Charles, gone. You're in jail for it. I've prayed to Heavenly Father to help me survive this. Why follow Chad down the rabbit hole? You can't lie to me anymore. You're going to stand before Jesus and be fine. I'm praying for you. The light of Jesus is the most powerful thing. I pray you fall into his grace no matter how mad I am, no matter how much I want to hit your husband in the face with a shovel. You ripped our hearts out. I'll be in Idaho this week. Look me in my eye, Mom. I do think that maybe this was a more recent call. He said he was going to be in Idaho. It could be a previous one. I don't know. They didn't specify. But this is when he leaves the stand, she's talking to her attorneys, and the look he gave her was very, very telling. It was a look of disgust and just, I don't want to say hatred, but it if you could picture it. The next and last witness we had today was Mark Sahari. He's a special agent from Social Security for the I'm sorry, he was not the last witness. He works for the Inspector General and investigated the Social Security fraud. He got involved in January 2020 by the FBI, who asked for assistance. Base is an overpacker's dream. It can be hard to fit everything in, especially when it comes to luggage. With Base, there's room for everything. Deciding between a few pair of shoes? Bring them all with Base. I've been traveling back and forth to Idaho, and I have to say, I have 3 pieces of luggage from Base. I love them. They are so easy to roll. The padded handle, the built-in weight indicator has been amazing for me. Base was created by actress Shay Mitchell to make sleek and affordable bags, luggage, and accessories designed to help you travel effortlessly while still looking fashionable. Right now, Base is offering my listeners 15% off your first purchase by visiting basetravel.com/whattheworld. Go to basetravel.com/whattheworld for 15% off your first purchase. That's Base, BEIS travel.com/whattheworld. They were asked if there was any fraud linked to Tylee and JJ's benefits being used by Lori. We know Tylee was receiving benefits from Joe Ryan's death, and she was receiving $1,859 a month in 2019. And there was a bank change. Tylee was at JP Morgan, and it switched to a bank called BBBA on August 20th of 2019, less than 2 weeks or so, or around 2 weeks before Tylee's murdered. She needed Tylee's signature, I'm convinced. So there would have been a notice sent to Lori since Tylee was a minor, and it's automatically generated, and they admit that change form, which says that you've, on behalf of Tylee Ryan for Lori, what you should know section, it reads, as you requested on August 20th, 2019, we changed Tylee's direct deposit. We will send her payments to the new account you selected. Those Social Security payments ended for Tylee in January of 2020, months after her murder. They were suspended on January 3rd, actually, due to the children's whereabouts being unknown. As far as JJ, he got $1,951 per month in 2019. The payments began September 18th, 2019. Tylee was already murdered. JJ would be murdered within days. So like Tylee, his were suspended since his whereabouts were unknown. These are called survivor benefits, and Lori also got mother, child, and care benefits. So sometimes if a woman doesn't work when she's married, you can, like I know in South Carolina, it's retirement. So if you've been married over 10 years and your spouse dies, you can get their retirement checks. But I think you have to be a certain age, so maybe that wasn't it. She was eligible since they were married for 10 years, and she got $1,951 per month. That changed in January of 2020. He said she had a small garnishment from the U.S. Treasury, and disbursements stopped completely in January of 2020. So if an individual is getting Social Security benefits, they have a duty to notify the government for changes in circumstances, such as the child is not in your care, the child is deceased, there's a change of address, all kinds of things like that. So the witness is given the letter that Lori received explaining when she should call Social Security to make them aware of the changes listed above. Rob Wood has the witness read, if any beneficiary dies or unable to handle benefits, you or any child changes mailing addresses, just pointing out that she didn't follow the rules, essentially. It also mentions if the child dies, Social Security should be notified. Marriage to Chad also would have stopped her payments that she was getting if she had not told them she was remarried, then she kept getting him, and hence we've got charges. Lori obviously never reported the kids' deaths, her marriage, or change of address. I mean, like, she struck out 3 for 3. She did all 3 things she wasn't supposed to do. The next witness is Detective Chuck. I cannot say his last name. I think it's Consadis from Rexburg PD. They entered in a bunch of exhibits. Archibald was okay with him coming in. Lori was scratching her legal pad like crazy. He's been with Rexburg PD for 23 years and has been a detective since 2011. So on November 27th, 2019, that's the date of the welfare check. That's when he got involved. He met with Detective Hermosillo and was told to walk through the townhouse 175. There was a printer with an invoice in Lori's name for that storage unit in Rexburg where all the kids' things were found. The witness assisted Detective Hermosillo with that search warrant, and in late December 2019, they found out Lori had a P.O. box in Sugar City, Idaho. So they found a lot of mail, about 100 pieces to Lori, Alex, and Charles. Those were from different financial institutions, the IRS, Social Security, cell phone bills, all kinds of things. There was abandoned mail they wanted to turn over to police. Some was addressed to Lori and Alex, and they were looking into financial records, the amounts in each account, where the money is spent, whether it's online or in person. So he made a list of financial institutions belonging to Lori and Tylee, and as well as Lori with Charles. There was a JP Morgan joint account with Charles. There was a JP Morgan joint account with Tylee, and then a second JP Morgan joint account with Charles. Lori had her EBBA personal account for Lori, but that also had Tylee on there. There was a Barclays account with Charles, and then another one shared with Alex. Lori had one of the cards from Alex's account. There is a First Hawaiian Bank account, business credit cards of Charles's, Southwest Life Insurance Lori took out for personal reasons. And as far as Tylee, it looks like she was making that Jeep payment with the money that she was getting from Social Security every month. They show an application for one of those accounts. It's a joint account with Lori and Charles. It was just an everyday account with bills, shopping, sharing it with Tylee. They would share money with Tylee from this account. So activity shown for joint checking account with Charles, which ended in July of 2019, the month he was murdered. There were deposits through another account online. The last deposit was just after Charles's murder, and then it just dwindles until it's overdrawn later on in November. They showed the signature page for Tylee's shared account with Lori. The application date for this account was February 2017. So that was before it all hit the fan with Lori. Now, as these exhibits are getting ready, Lori's giggling with her attorneys. By the way, she had on gray pants, some combat looking boots, a black sweater, and I think a white shirt. I didn't pay that much attention. They had years worth of banking statements from Tylee, January 2019 to October 2019. This was a heavily used account, lots of transactions. That's where she received her Social Security. And in 2019, we know she got $1,859 a month and was making those car payments for the Jeep. Tylee used a lot of brick and mortar type places to make purchases, like shopping center, fast food, convenience stores. That was the majority of her spending. So a final statement in August through September on Tylee's account. The month of August, she's making purchases on a daily basis. And it actually showed her movements from Arizona to Idaho through her purchases. The last purchase in person is September 1st at a McDonald's in St. George. So the next exhibit is a final transaction on Tylee's account, September 20th. At that point, she was already dead. She had $10.04 left in the account. There was an online transfer to Lori's Chase account. Nothing more from Tylee on that account. We know the last proof of life for Tylee was on September 8th of 2019, and that's the date the Rexburg PD put out. There was an online tool for users of JP Morgan, and the user was listed as Colby Ryan. Lori had a profile number under that account as well, and it's shown on that exhibit. She had her hand in all Tylee's money. You can see that. The significance of the profile numbers is it tells them any transactions that are made. The final amount was transferred to Lori's account, and it shows that Lori was the one who transferred it on September 20th, 2019, after Tylee was murdered, days before JJ would be murdered. October statement showed a zero balance for October of 2019. So he's setting up a lot of this stuff for an FBI forensic accountant to come in and testify specifically about purchases and things, but he was the one that did the subpoena, so he was setting that up. There was a BBBA account, Compass Bank, for Lori. It was open October 20th, and she was the sole user. It was significant because that's the one that ended up getting all the Social Security payments after the kids were murdered. There was a monthly bank statement for that account, August 2019 through January 2020. And there was a deposit made starting in August of that $1,859 from Social Security intended for Tylee. He explains the numbers on the sheet are the last four of her father, Joe Ryan's Social Security, to identify this deposit as for his death to Tylee. The deposit for this was to a sole account for Lori, and the date is significant because before the move to Idaho, they learned on August 20th she contacted to have Tylee's direct deposit sent to her bank account. There were two deposits on September 18th, 2019 from Social Security. One was over $3,000. The second was for over $4,000. These are death benefits for the kids. And the first installment is actually retroactive from when she applied. That's why those amounts were so high. And on that account, she continually got those payments until they were discontinued in January. There's a chart on the screen with boxes. Some are purple, which are Tylee's deposits. Ironically, there's a darker box that shows deposits to Lori. He did the same chart for JJ. Another exhibit shows the deposits meant for JJ that went to Lori. And he notes that she was married to Jad in November of 2019. We had a break. The jury came back in. He's still on direct. There's a document for the joint account with Lori and Tylee. There's another joint account for the two of them as well. BBBA, that one was opened August 19th. And there's a sidebar. The exhibit is the statement for Tylee's account from August 19th, 2019, when it was opened through September of that next month. With her other account, when they moved from Arizona to Idaho, it tracked her spending on the move. September 1st, we know she was in Utah because she was making purchases. They show monthly bank statements. And the general nature on this account past September 1st, 2019, everything was done online on this account. There were only two in-person purchases on September 17th. She was dead at that point. That was to a Mexican restaurant. Second in-person purchase, the same restaurant on October the 7th, 2 days before the attempt on Tammy Daybell. So the deposits on this account were ranging from $60 to $80 on September 10th and October 16th. They were transferred from Lori's account. And the money coming in from Lori, that $60 immediately sent to Colby's Venmo. So she's putting it in Tylee's account. So it's coming from Tylee's bank account to keep Lori from being, Colby from being suspicious. They are a total of 20 deposits from Lori's to Tylee's account that was then sent to Colby. 20 deposits from August to January. Colby said he really couldn't remember what these were for. The expenditures on the two accounts are complete opposites. Tylee's account on Chase Morgan, she was active purchasing daily in person. The other account from Arizona to Idaho, nothing was in person. It's all online. They go through some credit card applications for Charles and Lori, a Hawaiian credit card. They applied September 24th, 2015. On the same date, they applied for another. Then they applied for a third in 2016. There were some significant events for the joint credit card with Charles. On July 12th, the day after his murder, Lori paid $3,000 plus to Valley of the Sun Mortuary. That's the same mortuary Chad had called the day before inquiring about an estimate to have cremation and to have the remains shipped to Louisiana. Then on July 20th, round-trip airfare bought for Chad from Provo, Utah to Phoenix. Mr. Wood points out Chad was still married to Tammy at the time. Now, there's a monthly statement for Alex Cox's MasterCard he shared with Lori. She had her own card, but they shared that account. She was an authorized user, and it shows purchase activities. The March 2019 statement, there was purchase activity for Lori. She bought airfare for Tylee and a friend in March of 2019 to fly from Phoenix to Hawaii. March 14th, 2019, airfare from Chad to from Idaho to Arizona. At this point, March 14th, 2019, both Charles and Tammy were alive. There was a Southwest Airlines document that I think will come in with the FBI witness. There was a rental application in August of 2019 for housing in Rexburg at the townhomes. Of note on the application, her income was listed as the sum of all the Social Security money that JJ and Tylee got. And it lists her income as Social Security income. The other thing that caught his attention is it said the reason they were leaving Arizona is bringing kids to attend BYUI, but she's too young to live alone, so I'm coming with her, meaning Tylee. He also reviewed financial records to Lori's brother, Alex. There was a Desert Financial bank statement showed he had steady monthly income, 3 paychecks a month from his job. They stopped in August of 2019 because he quit his job and moved to Rexburg. And then in early August, Alex got $21,000 deposited from the lending club to that account. Now, he made some purchases after he got that from the lending account, firearms and related items in early August 2019. The loan application from the lending club, the application date on that was August 8th, 2019, and he said it was for personal medical expenses. As his reason for the loan, zero proof he had medical expenses to be paid for. There was an application for 2 Capital One credit cards, and Mike Douglas with the FBI looked these over. I'm pretty sure he'll be up soon to testify. February 7th, 2019 to August 25th, 2019, we know he quit his job, but that last $21,000 deposit from the lending club was the last deposit on his account. Also, this is insane, August 10th to October 24th, Alex made 46 gun-related purchases on that account. 46, y'all. On November 13th, Alex opened a credit union account. He put down a $4,000 deposit. Now, he also subpoenaed documents for Chad Daybell. Those were handed over to the FBI. Chad had 2 credit union accounts, one with Tammy as a co-owner and one with Spring Creek Book Company, which was their book company. There was a First Hawaiian bank account for Chad, a Citi bank card, and a joint Capital One card for him and Tammy. There was one account for Chad. I didn't hear it. Mountain America Credit Union of Spring Creek Book Company, that was given to the FBI. Credit card application for Citibank for Chad, and a Wells Fargo. So that was kind of the testimony today. I think the biggest takeaway is it was painful and awkward with Colby and Lori, and you could tell that there's a lot of love lost there. And I know people have opinions about Colby and everything that transpired over the last year. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm just here to talk about the Colby that lost his siblings and his stepdad, and his pain seemed very palpable and real. Did not see his grandmother Janice or his Aunt Summer, which is Lori's sister. They have been spotted in town, or at least Janice has. Maybe she came for moral support for Colby and we haven't got to Summer yet. Not sure. But tomorrow we will see what transpires. It seems like every day there's sort of a little surprise witness in the stand. I knew Colby would be up today because he was spotted over the weekend. Now, what a lot of people have asked me, who is there family-wise? Annie Cushing and her daughter have been there, although I didn't see her daughter today, who is absolutely gorgeous, by the way. Can I just say she's like stunning. Just a beautiful girl, very sweet. So Annie and her daughter have been here. I just saw Annie today. And then you have the Vallow Woodcocks. You have Kay and Larry and Cresha, Cheryl Wheeler, Charles's ex-wife is back here today. I didn't see the boys, but there's a strong showing of family here for JJ and Tylee. And I think it's really kind of beautiful that it's interchangeable. I saw Annie and her daughter crying over JJ's pictures the other day, just as much as they did for Tylee and vice versa. They do have that common thread that you never hope you have with somebody. But anyway, so that's it from a cold, snowy Boise. That's the latest from Boise. I will see you guys tomorrow with another breakdown of tomorrow's testimony. I'll be on Cuomo and Banfield tonight. Check it out. See you soon.